Welcome back. We'll have the press preview in just a moment, but I just want to bring you some breaking news. Police are saying that they are dealing with an incident on London's London Bridge. You can see the location of that crossing the Thames there. The first hint that we had that there was something happening there was a report from the managing editor of the political magazine The Spectator. In fact, he was suggesting that there were armed police attending that particular incident. We've also had confirmation from London Transport, the organisation that deals with the tube network in London. They say that London Bridge Station itself has been closed at the request of the police. The very latest that we're hearing, actually coming from a reporter for the Reuters news agency. He is presently near London Bridge and has seen around 10 police cars, by his estimate, heading to the bridge itself. So very little information at the moment. Clearly something is happening on London Bridge. The bridge itself has been closed. London Bridge Station has been closed at the request of the police. And according to the managing editor of The Spectator magazine, there have been armed police attending that incident there. We can speak to our Home Affairs correspondent, Mark White, in just a moment. But yeah, British police say that they are dealing with something happening on the bridge. I believe we can, in fact, speak to Mark White now. Mark, what can you tell us?
It is a serious incident that is unfolding on London Bridge, Neil. Scotland Yard currently responding with armed police. All emergency service personnel are at the scene. We have reports of a number of injured at this stage. Now, initial reports are fairly sketchy, but say that there was a vehicle involved that appears to have run people down. There is also reports coming through of a potential for a knife attack as well. But at this stage, clearly, with an unfolding incident, the information that comes through can be a little confused and contradictory at times. But what we can say for sure is there is a significant incident that is unfolding on London Bridge. Sources told me that the Metropolitan Police are in the process of declaring this a major incident. There are people injured on the bridge. Armed police and other emergency service personnel are there now dealing with the casualties.
Mark, we have a little bit of video that has been sent through to us that I just want to bring our viewers, showing the scene on London Bridge at the moment. But whilst we have you, clearly, given events that happened in Parliament Square and Westminster Bridge, no matter what has happened here, it could well prove just to be a road traffic incident. You would expect, given those heightened tensions, that you would see police rushing there in numbers, you would see armed police moving there in numbers.
Yes, they have to take all precautions given what has happened most recently, of course, in Manchester. But given that we have had a template for vehicle attacks here in the UK, a template that followed those horrific vehicle attacks in Nice and, of course, in Berlin at Christmas time, there has been a real concern amongst the police and the intelligence services about the potential for these low-level, and I mean low-level in terms of the sophistication that's required, but they can be very deadly in nature types of incident. We're not saying at this stage, let's be clear, that this is a terrorist-related incident, but there is a great deal of concern, and that will be uppermost in the minds of the police as they respond to this. There is a picture I've just seen circulated on social media that shows a white van that is crashed just near a traffic light off the road and onto the pavement, with the back doors open and also with the passenger door open, so a white van. And reports that have been circulating suggested that this incident involved a van that had run people over. Around that van I can see armed response vehicles as well. From the images that you're just showing there with that latest video, those two vehicles with the yellow dots on the back windscreen, these are armed response vehicles from the Metropolitan Police. They are out in large numbers across the capital and other centres of population at the moment because of the heightened terror threat level. Remember, of course, we were at critical at the time of the Manchester attack for a few days. That level has now been reduced to severe, which still means that a terrorist attack is highly likely. We should stress again, Neil, that nothing that we've heard so far confirms that this was a terrorist incident, but it certainly looks like, from what is unfolding here, that in the belief of the authorities as they go forward is the potential for this being terrorist-related.
Mark, you mentioned just a moment ago that the Metropolitan Police were in the process of declaring this a major incident. What does that mean?
It means that they then have the full mechanisms bringing into action that allow them to take resources from other parts of the Metropolitan Police and indeed outside of London, if that was necessary, to respond to an incident. It means that senior commanders who will be potentially off duty at this time on a Saturday night will be brought back in. Their Gold control room, their GT control room in South London is opened up, and lots of personnel are brought in. It means that they have all of the resources in place to deal with a major and unfolding incident, and that certainly, from the first reports that we've been getting, would seem to be what we're seeing here. We're hearing reports of quite a number of injuries on London Bridge itself, caused, we believe, by a van. And as I say, Neil, there is that picture that's now beginning to circulate of a white van that's off the road, just beside a traffic light, onto the pavement that looks as though it's certainly crashed up onto that pavement.
Mark, given that there are all of these extra resources will be made available to the Metropolitan Police, obviously we can't delve into the specifics, or the operational specifics, but clearly the Met Police will have been planning for an incident such as this. What do you know about how they intend to respond to what, on the face of it at least, appears to be a similar incident to that which took place in Parliament Square?
Well, sadly, they are very well versed in responding to these incidents. Of course, we had the Westminster attack, which happened before the current general election campaign that we are in at the moment. But even after that campaign was called, there were another two incidents in central London. One, a young man who was stopped with a rucksack full of knives, who is now being charged and facing a criminal trial on terrorist charges. And then another incident in North London where police raided a house and shot a woman, a suspect in a terrorist plot there. That woman has since recovered from her injuries and been charged with a terror offence. So the police know, of course, that the fact that we are on a severe terror threat level means that incidents can unfold at any time, and around not just the UK, but around Europe in particular, we've seen many incidents. So they are well versed. They've carried out many exercises to prepare for this type of incident. And of course, they've had to deal with it for real with the Westminster terrorist attack. And there were certainly valuable lessons learned there in terms of staging their emergency service personnel, in bringing forward armed response officers to deal with these incidents, and that's why we are seeing constantly now an uptick in the number of armed police that are available to respond to these kinds of incidents. And you see them in the shot that we're running on a loop there of those armed response vehicles all arriving en masse now at London Bridge to deal with this incident. What we don't know, of course, if it is terrorist-related or even if it is a deliberate criminal act and not terrorist-related, whether the person that was driving that van has been apprehended or is still at large. And of course, we don't know whether there were any other people in that van, whether it was just one person. These bits and snippets of information, of course, will start to come out as the hours go ahead and we start speaking to eyewitnesses and the police in more detail.
Mark, we'll just pause there as we show our viewers the latest pictures, people moving away from London Bridge, and we'll just update people who may well be just tuning in as to that which we know and that which we are uncertain of. First of all, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, the Metropolitan Police, as we see people clearly moving at some speed away from London Bridge. We know that there has been an incident, as the Metropolitan Police are describing it, at London Bridge. The bridge itself has been closed at their request. London Bridge tube station has been closed. And now we enter into the single source reports and reports from people other than news organisations. There have been the suggestion of a number of injuries on London Bridge as a result of an incident involving a vehicle. As Mark was saying a moment ago, there have also been reports from people in and around London Bridge. Nothing that has been confirmed as yet of a knife attack that followed that vehicle, injuring people on the bridge itself. We do know that police are there in numbers. We do know that other emergency services are there in numbers. Mark, having looked at these pictures with us, also saying that there are a number of armed response vehicles in the area, and also that the Metropolitan Police are in the process of labelling this a major incident. Let's just bring Mark back in once again. Mark, you identified several of these vehicles in the pictures that we were seeing just a moment ago as armed response, but that does not necessarily mean, of course, that this is a terrorist attack.
No, but all the information that we're seeing and hearing does point in that direction. The information that is coming through, certainly from Scotland Yard, is that they are preparing to describe this as a major incident, declare it as a major incident, and the fact that you've got armed response vehicles turning up there in significant numbers tells you that that threat is uppermost in their mind. That is what they believe this may well be. There are reports now, numerous reports, that it wasn't just the number of pedestrians that were knocked over by this van that careered across London Bridge, but also that there may have been a knife attack after that van came to a halt. No real word on the number of people who have been injured, except to say multiple injuries, and reports that we're seeing now emerging through the usual channels such as social media, talking about quite a number of people lying on that bridge and being treated by members of the public and the emergency services who are arriving on the scene, carrying out this triage work that they do to evaluate who the most seriously injured are before dealing with them, getting them off to hospital.
Mark, we'll be back to you in just a second. I want to bring in Caroline Grenier, who was in London Bridge Station when it was evacuated. Caroline, thanks very much for speaking to us. Just tell us how events unfolded for you. Caroline, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Caroline. You were in London Bridge Station when the tannoy, I presume, said to leave immediately. Describe what's happened to you this evening.
So I just was walking out of the London Bridge Station, and I was walking to catch a bus. There were police officers in the street. Some of them were coming by car, other ones were running. Then we just, like, the traffic was stopped, the buses were stopped. We just saw police officer just running, and there was one guy telling them to go in this or this direction, but I don't know exactly where they were going. And then this specific guy wearing a white shirt just left down, I think it's Solly Street. Then the area was evacuated, so I went to the London Bridge station, and 5 minutes after that, the station was evacuated. So everybody coming out of the station, and now the police asked us again to move down the street, and there are still people walking in the street, but like most of the people they left.
But in terms of people who are in and around London Bridge, it appears from the pictures that we're looking at the moment that they are being directed out of the area by the police.
Well, the police just asked people to move, and they did, and they moved just quietly, and everybody left.
And in terms of
Very calm.
when the station itself was evacuated, how was that announcement made? Was that by someone coming live over the tannoy, or was this one of the messages that they have pre-recorded? I'm just trying to get to grips with what you were told when you were told to leave the station.
So I wasn't inside the station at the moment. I was outside the station. I just saw people coming out of the station. So everybody was coming out, and like a few minutes after that, they just told us to leave the street. So we went down the street a little bit. But I wasn't inside the tube station when they asked people to leave.
And of course, this being a Saturday night in London, one presumes there are quite a lot of people on the streets at this time.
Yes, there is. There were like a lot of people coming out of the station. Most of them are gone now. The street looks pretty empty for a Saturday night, but there's still people walking by. So you can't go up the street. You can't access the area.
And how have people been reacting? You will have seen many faces moving past you this evening as events on London Bridge have unfolded. Have people been responding with panic, with fear, with uncertainty?
Well, the people coming out of the station, they moved like pretty quietly, calmly. There was no panic, but I saw people running from near the scene of the incident. They were just running down the street, so I saw a few people running, but mainly it was quiet. But the police officers were kind of shouting at us to leave, so people I think they didn't want to panic or anything, and they just left.
Caroline, well, many thanks for speaking to us, and we hope that you get home safe and sound shortly. Let's again speak to our Home Affairs correspondent, Mark White. Mark, the very latest that we have from the police in London is that there are, in their words, multiple resources attending the incident at London Bridge. They have asked people to avoid the area. We're still unclear as we look at live pictures of London Bridge. In fact, I'm just having a look there to see the police appear to be. No, in fact, there are just police exiting the van there. That is what the Metropolitan Police would say for any major incident in the centre of London, but any minor incident that causes London Bridge to be closed as well.
Yes, that's right. I mean, you can see from the live shots what we're seeing are normal uniformed and plainclothes police officers who are arriving on scene there. I mean, those plainclothes officers, they could be counter-terror command, but, you know, that would just be speculation at this stage. But certainly the reports that we're getting suggest that this may be terror-related, but that is not being confirmed by the police at this stage. However, it is being declared a major incident. There are reports from one source that has been speaking to me that there may be another incident or a related incident nearby at the Shard, but of course the Shard isn't too far from London Bridge. These things can sometimes spill over. It might be people running away from London Bridge and being mistaken for another incident that's unfolding at the Shard. I think it's always important in the early stages, Neil, of these incidents, just to put out these caveats that information comes through of sometimes, you know, multiple incidents, multiple attackers, and that in the cold light of day, once we get the full facts in there, it turns out often to be one incident and one attacker. But at this stage, it is certainly a very serious incident. We are talking about multiple injured people on London Bridge itself. Some, we're told, are very seriously injured and are being treated and triaged now by members of the emergency services. London Ambulance Service have confirmed that they are sent significant resources to that scene, but they have no more information at the moment. The British Transport Police say that London Bridge Station is currently closed while officers are responding to the incident, and they are understandably telling people to avoid the area. You can hear, of course, on our live shots there, the police shouting at people to get away from the scene. Again, this is just part and parcel of what they do. In terms of just creating a sterile cordon, getting people out of danger. I'll just pause for a second and let you listen to that. You can see our camera, as well as members of the public, being pushed back. When the police get significant resources in at the scene of an incident, they are then able to sort of push their cordon a bit further back, ensure that people are out of harm's way, and that's what they're doing at the moment. You've got lots of people in that area, out and about, in the pubs and clubs of that area of London. It's a very popular area, of course, with people who want to enjoy a normal Saturday night out. London Bridge itself would have been very busy with pedestrians at this time of night. And as you see, more emergency services now arriving on scene. At this early stage, you're having plainclothes officers there who are having to act as those safety officers shepherding people back to a safe location to ensure that they are away from the danger. We don't know as yet whether the danger is over. We certainly have these reports of a van that has knocked down a number of pedestrians, but also the possibility of some kind of knife-related attack as well that took place just immediately after this van came to a halt.
132. Mark, thanks very much. Just in those pictures that we were seeing in the past couple of minutes, these live pictures just adjacent to London Bridge, where we are being pushed back, as you can imagine, the police trying to create some kind of cordon. It's clear that there are a number of hotels in the area around London Bridge, and it appears at least one of those has been evacuated. A number of people in pyjamas, clearly just pulled out of bed. A number of children, in fact, being pushed away from London Bridge. And it did appear at one point as well that we saw police officers exiting a van and putting on some form of armour. It certainly appeared as if there was a shield being held by one officer. We are too far away now to see that. I wonder if we have on the line Nick Archer, who was in the area this evening as these events were unfolding. Nick, I hope you can hear me. I wonder if you can tell me what you saw.
Road. We just finished drinking at a bar, and we came out onto the road and looked to my left, and there was a guy. To be honest, I thought he was just drunk. He had so much to drink. He was lying on the floor, and then a couple of seconds later, about 3 police vans flew past, and the guys who were with the guy that was on the floor managed to flag one of these police vans down, and these armed response officers jumped out and sort of started attending to the guy on the floor, and then one of the other group who was with this guy on the floor, I think, started leading the officers up the road towards London Bridge. We did walk past the guy who was on the floor. I didn't sort of manage to see what he was like, but he looked in a bad way. I can't tell if he was hit by something or if he was shot or anything like that, but yeah, that's what we thought. And people were coming from the London Bridge direction, telling us people had been either shot or stabbed, telling us to get back. So we just sort of retreated back to the London Bridge, where we are now. There's no trains running. Sorry, we're at Waterloo East. There's no trains running through London Bridge, so we're stuck at Waterloo East now.
So Nick, just to try and work out the geography, how far from London Bridge were you? How far was this individual that you saw lying on the floor?
It's difficult to say. We must have been about a 10-minute walk maybe from London Bridge, and we were walking in that direction from this bar, but we obviously were then pushed back by members of the public, not by police, telling us that something had happened, so we turned around and walked the other way. But they told us 6 people had been either shot or stabbed. But that's obviously just by members of the public telling us that.
And just in terms of the number of the emergency service personnel that you've seen, there have been a number of reports of armed police on the scene. Have you seen any of those? There were, when I'd say about 15 seconds after I saw this guy on the floor, they managed to flag down one of the armed police vans coming past. About 5 maybe armed police jumped out of the van and started attending to the guy on the floor. Then I'd say about maybe 3 of them started running up off the street towards London Bridge, away from us. Couldn't see where they were going or anything like that, but
they were definitely heading up to sort of the London Bridge area.
And Nick, there have been some reports of a white van as being the vehicle responsible. Did you see anything matching that description?
I did not see any kind of white van or anything like that. All we literally saw is a guy, one single guy. He was maybe 20 to 30 years old, lying on the floor, maybe unconscious. That's also. I did not see any sign of a white van.
Nick, many thanks for speaking to us. We appreciate it. We have now on the line Tony Murphy, who was also in the area. And Tony, describe to us what you saw, what you heard this evening.
I'm actually military, and about half an hour ago, preceding all the problem, I have a flat which is adjacent to Southwark Bridge, so London Bridge is across the way. And in fact, there was tremendous gunfire which started. I thought at first it was fireworks, but then I recognised it was significant gunfire. And that was the first instance. And only afterwards, very rapidly, because I'm on Upper Thames Street here, then the emergency started about 10 minutes after. But the whole incident started with gunfire, and it was significant gunfire. It went on for quite a few minutes, which other people would have thought it was fireworks, but of course I recognised it immediately. So, I mean, that was the precipitating cause. And after that, the whole shooting match of ambulances and police and what you're seeing on the television screen at the moment, but I was worried about it. And in fact, I texted my family to say there was gunfire even before this started.
Tony, so when you heard this gunfire, was it, in your opinion, as former military yourself, was that one weapon firing a burst, or did it appear that it was more than one weapon?
Well, there was rapid fire, because that's why I thought it was fireworks at the time. There was quite significant, it went on for quite a significant amount of time, sufficient for me to get out of the chair and have a look through the window to see if it was fireworks. And it was still going on, so it happened for a while. But that was before there was any police response, which took about 10 minutes, because they all passed my flat along Upper Thames Street, which I saw them, and the helicopter was in fact, the responses were unbelievably fast, including a helicopter.
So, Tony, roughly what time did you first hear that burst of gunfire?
That was, I lose track of time. It would have been about over half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. It was about, the police came about 10 minutes afterwards, when they were on the scene passing with all the first police to go. Would have been about 10 minutes after I heard the gunfire.
And so from your flat, which, as you said, I think you mentioned is adjacent to Southwark Bridge, do you actually have sight of London Bridge?
I don't have sight. No, I could hear it quite comfortably. I had the window of the flat open, and I could hear the gunfire quite comfortably.
Tony Murphy, many thanks for speaking to us. I want to bring in Will Heaven, who, for many people, was the first person to indicate that there was something happening on London Bridge this evening. Will, thank you for speaking to us. You are in and around London Bridge. Tell us exactly what you saw.
So I think it was about 10 past 10, quarter past 10. I was in the back of an Uber cab driving south over London Bridge, and suddenly noticed on the left-hand side of the bridge, on the pavement, there was somebody down on the pavement with a small crowd around them, clearly very concerned about their welfare. It looked, to be honest, it looked like someone had collapsed, someone had fallen over, and I sort of wondered what was going on. We drove a little bit further southwards across the bridge and noticed that there was another person on the right-hand side of the bridge who was also not on the pavement this time, but in the road itself. And it suddenly, the penny dropped that something quite serious was happening. And basically, suddenly the traffic came to a standstill, and our Uber driver said something bad is happening here, and we looked around. We could hear sirens coming, and then suddenly, further ahead of us, we noticed another casualty in the road, and then the traffic coming from the opposite direction, coming from the south, stopped, and a driver of a black cab said there has been a terrorist attack. I think the phrase he used was, it's Westminster all over again. They said there were numerous people in the road, and then a second cab driver stopped and said there had been a series of stabbings. I have I didn't see that myself, so I can't confirm that.